both in chamber and online. I now call to order the June 17th, 2021 regular Board of Aldermen meeting. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Alderman Rucker?
Here.
Alderman Becker?
Here.
Alderman Morose?
Here.
Alderman Ross?
Here.
Alderman Osteen?
Here.
Alderman Walker? Mayor Albery?
Here. We do have a quorum. First item of business is mayor's communications, and I just want to take a minute and thank our building department for the new look of our boardroom and for all the hard work in trying to get it all put together for tonight's meeting. It looks great, Ron. You guys did a great job. We really appreciate it. All right, next item on the agenda is citizens communication. This is a time set aside on the agenda for citizens and visitors to address the mayor and board on any topic that is not a public hearing, and there are no public hearings on tonight's agenda. For those here in person, speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes unless otherwise permitted. Minutes may not be donated or transferred from one speaker to another. Visitors attending via online will be in listen-only mode. Any questions or comments for the mayor and board may be sent to the city clerk at tbethran@osagebeach.org no later than 10 a.m. on the board meeting day, which is normally the first and third Thursday of each month. Submitted questions and comments may be read during the citizens communication section of the agenda. The Board of Aldermen will not take action on any item not on the agenda, nor will it respond to questions, although staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The Mayor and Board of Aldermen welcome and value input and feedback from the public. Is there anyone here who would like to address the board? All right, Ron, come on up. Have you signed in? If you'll give that to Kerry, I think he can pass them out for you. Have you signed in, Ron? Just put Ron. We know who you are. I've got one. Thanks a lot.
Not, I know what it says.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Well, while they're passing that out, you know, that's basically what I'm going to say, but I don't guarantee all those words will come out. Or I may add some words to it as I go along. And what we're doing here, what we want to do is offer you something that you can't refuse.
Excuse me.
And as I just told Mike, we got the money, baby. So what we want to do is, how do I say it, is to get you to back off a little bit on your sidewalk situation. At the, as the paper says, last night at the Osage Beach Special Road District meeting, we decided that we've got the funds to support several projects that we think are very important to the city and its people. And as you see, the first one is the Deerberg Sidewalk Project, which we had the TAP program for that we didn't get from the state. So the road district has agreed to pick up that difference to make that possible. The second one that we have is the Hy-Vee gas station to Highway 42, and that has been a problem for us for some time. we have been told we can't go beyond Goldie Pearl because of I don't know what. But that's not a big project, monstrous. And we were given an estimate of $171,500 to do that. And we will back that completely. So what would like to have you do is agree to soften your no sidewalk rule until the new engineering work is done, and let us do these two projects for the city. We think it'll help. Thank you.
All right.
Are there any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Glad to.
Richard?
Ron, so I don't have it in front of me, the sidewalk plan that was proposed by Cochran, and I don't think we've necessarily finalized that, but
You have.
I think that the Deerbergs project was on the top 2 or 3, if not the top 1. But what I don't know about is the second one that you're discussing. Was that identified? Does anybody happen to know? Dave's not here.
Well, and the problem, Richard,
Give you information on that.
go ahead.
That project that they're talking about is to go from Goldie Pearl or the old D road down to 42.
Right.
Okay, that's where they want to go. That is not identified in our sidewalk plan. Because in our sidewalk plan, it is identified to come down Osage Beach Parkway on the other side of the road to down in front of Stonecrest Mall. And then according to the sidewalk project that we've had presented to us, this most recent one, is the sidewalk goes across the street and then goes down Old D Road to behind Hy-Vee, over back that way, College Boulevard, back over to 42, then down 42. That's what we have presented to us to consider as far as the sidewalk. So the area they're wanting to go to is to be in front of Hy-Vee Gas and all the way down to there. And that's not even identified in that project. And the reason my memory tells me it is not, according to prior discussions with prior engineer, is because it was felt MoDOT would not cooperate with us because of the way the land lays there and because of some signage and et cetera there is, that it would be difficult to put the sidewalk down that side of the road. So that's the short of it. And they want to put it down that side of the road, not back at College. So
I'm not sure I understand what Goldie Pearl is. Is that where?
That's a road.
I
That's
understand,
one of
but is
the
that
roads.
between the bank and like the West Marine property? Where, I don't know which one. Oh, Hy-Vee.
Yeah, the next one down, Richard.
Okay.
yeah.
Goldie Pearl is the one that goes between
I was thinking
the
Goldie
bank.
Pearl was the same as D Road, but I
No, it's not.
messed that up.
No, it's
Right.
not. Yeah.
Right, Goldie Pearl is between the Central Bank and Steak and Shake.
No,
Or West Marine, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
West Marine and the
Right.
bank.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to recommend this. I mean, we're kind of in a situation where we don't have all the facts in front of us. So we're not really in a position to address this issue this evening, but we do appreciate Ron and Fred, the generous offer on both of these. As I remember from our conversation, Ron, on the Hy-Vee issue, and we'll investigate this, but what you're asking for is that, or what you're offering to do is to pay the construction charges and ask that the city do the engineering costs, okay? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And on the Deerberg sidewalk, what you're offering to do is to pick up that 1/3 cost that was originally going to be looked at from a TAP grant, to
Correct.
pay that fee, and then have city pick up 1/3 of the project and also the engineering cost, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Sir,
so,
the engineering cost is built into
Yeah.
358.
okay,
on the first one.
I understand, and it's also built into the second one. Okay, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to make sure that I understand what he wants from us. Okay, so what I'd like to do at this point is to refer this, request to staff, have them, put together a response back, get something to the board, a recommendation of some sort, to the board, which will probably involve, getting into some kind of meetings with you all prior, to making that recommendation to the board. But these are both very generous recommendations. We'll just have to take a look at, if there are some MoDOT issues and whatever, get refamiliarized with that, and so we can address those. We're just not in a position to do that this evening. But I do appreciate, you bringing this to us. Okay?
Could I, one real quick follow-up to that? I had a conversation with Dave Van Leer after our last meeting, and I've ended up talking with a couple of people that work with MoDOT up in Jeff City. And the bridge, we're there by scooters, okay, that we've had the challenge with figuring out how to do something. I'm kind of pushing back at this point and hoping that there may be some opportunity to open that conversation back up.
Oh,
So just wanted to let you guys know about that.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thanks.
all right.
John, one
Yes.
follow-up, if you would, with what you're going to have staff bring forth, the bottom line I'd like to know is, what is the financial impact on the city? Because we have put some money into the budget, and I don't look for the answer tonight.
No.
But we've put some money, I know, into the budget for that one thing. So what's it really mean to us? Now, the second project there, we'd be taking on the engineering, but
Right.
the first project, we've put some money in the budget, and so do we need to put more into it, or is there enough to do that? That's what I'm looking for.
Absolutely, and that will certainly be part of the recommendation.
Thank you.
We would look at, all of the issues and all of the, budget issues included in that, okay? All right, Ron, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Is there anyone else who is here this evening that would like to share with the board? Seeing none, we'll move on. Yes. Yeah, Fred.
My name is Fred Cackott, and most of you know me. Ever since I was on the city council, sidewalks on Business 54 or Osage Beach Parkway has been a big priority on my side. We have a lot of apartments down Mace Road. We have a lot of apartments down D Road, and there are zero sidewalks until we built, the Special Road District built the sidewalk from Starbucks down to Kings Plaza right before the bridge. And our goal overall was to build sidewalks on that side of the town because there are none, and people are walking in the street. We did pick the Hy-Vee and Central Bank side of the highway for a reason, because there are more businesses there that are not obtainable without a sidewalk. You've got Hy-Vee, you've got Central Bank, you've got West Marine, you've got all those restaurants over there that people could get to. And we're not talking just people paying to eat there, we're talking about people working there, that walk from the condos and apartments up to work. So we wanted to get traffic on that side because all along there's businesses. On the other side, they have the mall and they can walk in the parking lot. There's a place where they can walk, but on the other side of the road, there's no place for them to walk. So, and we picked Hy-Vee to Goldie Pearl because talking with our engineer that we work with a lot, Eric, it's pretty much a smooth surface, and it'd probably be one of the cheaper ones to tackle first
Right.
between Hy-Vee and Goldie Pearl.
Right.
So it's an easier project.
Right.
And the Deerbergs, we were all for that when the city came to us and asked us to help to that. And then when the state backed out, last night we just said, hey, why don't we just pitch in that third and do 2/3 of it and let the city do a third, and we'll get that sidewalk completed.
Right.
So the goal is to get sidewalks in there.
Right.
So,
And we you guys are great partners for us in so many ways. Sidewalks are just one of them. And so we appreciate so much everything that you all do for us. We're just not in a position to discuss it this evening, but,
just wanna present.
and I do remember a lot of the facts, that you just shared. Those are the kinds of things that we just need to get staff to get back together, put together in a recommendation, get something to the board so that we can, determine how we can move forward on both of these projects, if that's a possibility.
And
But
that's
the
what we
generosity
talked about.
of these two offers is phenomenal, and we really appreciate it.
Well, Ron suggested we come up here tonight because you got to give the options to the boards at one point.
Right.
So we're doing that.
Yeah, and what we've done with the sidewalk plan is to, we're like you. We're trying to figure out the best way to utilize, what dollars are available, and that includes, what we normally, get from you and work with you all on. So, we're just trying to prioritize, things with that sidewalk plan, so that when those funds are available, we're ready to move forward, with those. So, we'll continue to do that as we finalize those plans. Thank you all again. Appreciate your time. All right, our first item of business this evening is the approval of the consent agenda. If the board desires, the consent agenda may be approved by a single motion. Tonight's agenda consists of the minutes of the June 3rd, 2021 Board of Aldermen meeting, the June 17th, 2021 bills list, and several renewal liquor license, the list of which and the liquor license are actually included in the package.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
due to my employer having a liquor license renewal up tonight, I would like to abstain from consideration and note my recusal on the minutes, please.
All right, we will do that. Thank you very much. Alderman Ross, are the liquor license in order?
Yes, they are, Mr. Mayor.
All right. As far as the rest of the consent agenda, are there any questions, comments, or proposed revisions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Rucker, do I have a second? Alderman Morose. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved. Alderman Becker, you can return to the dais. All right, our first item of unfinished business, request a second reading by title only of ordinance number 2132, an ordinance of the city of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to, on behalf of the city, apply for a 5-year extension of the 1999 lease between the city and the Missouri Department of Natural Resources for the Lee C. Fine Memorial Airport located within the Lake of the Ozarks State Park. The first readings for all of the unfinished business on tonight's agenda was approved at the June 3rd regular board meeting. Are there any comments from the airport manager? No further comments. All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve second reading?
So moved.
Alderman Morose, do I have a second? Alderman Becker. Roll call, please.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
Alderman Walker. Alderman Becker.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
All right, the second reading passes. Our next item requests a second reading by title only of ordinance number 2133, an ordinance of the city of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute construction with Stockman Construction Corporation for the Mace Road Phase 2B project in an amount not to exceed $914,519.83. That's tight. Assistant City Administrator, any comments?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. I have nothing to add unless there's any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board? Yes, Alderman Rucker.
Do we have anything different to report on the right-of-way?
We are still negotiating. There is still promise. There is still hope. We will negotiate until the bitter end.
That's fine.
Because we'd really like this project to take the sidewalk all the way to the parkway. But I don't have
That's fine.
anything to
Okay.
add right now, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve second reading?
Motion to
Alderman
approve.
Becker, second, Alderman Rucker. Roll call, please.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
Alderman Becker.
Yes.
Alderman Walker. Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
All right, the second reading passes. Our final item of unfinished business, request a second reading by title only of ordinance number 2135, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, approving the Kirkwood Lodge amended plat vacating the right-of-way contained in Lot 1 at Kirkwood Lodge in Osage Beach, Camden County, Missouri. Any comments from the city planner?
Nothing further, Mayor.
All right. Are there any questions from the board? With none, is there a motion to approve second reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second? Alderman Becker, roll call, please.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
Alderman Walker. Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Alderman Becker.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Our first item of new business is the presentation on the city's FY 2020 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. City Treasurer.
Mayor and Board of Aldermen, I'd like to introduce to you Michael Keenan with, he's the engagement partner with Cochran Head and Vick. And a couple things about him. He has over 29 years of auditing experience, and he's also a member and a reviewer for GFOA for the Achievement of Review Committee. And I'm going to let him tell you the rest about Cochran Head Vick and the city's 2020 audit process.
Well,
Thank you very much. Welcome.
especially for letting me know how experienced I am. Again, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Michael Keenan, engagement partner with the firm of Cochran Head Vick and Company, here to present the results of the financial and compliance audit for the year ended December 31, 2020. Included in your board package should have been two documents, the comprehensive annual financial report, as well as the required communications report. And I've included a little PowerPoint presentation that I'll go over, and then we'll try to answer any questions that you may have. On page 2, a little bit about our firm. As we've been serving Missouri and Kansas since 1975. We go through kind of an audit, which is called a peer review. That's an outside firm will come in and review our quality control procedures. And we have been awarded the highest rating possible as a result of that review. We're members of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, as well as other professional organizations. And we've been licensed to practice in both Missouri and Kansas. On page 3, the scope of the audit, again, is the comprehensive annual financial report. I'd like to point out that the city has received the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Excellence in Achievement in Financial Reporting for 21 consecutive years. And this report, the 2020 report, is also going to be submitted, and we fully believe that it will qualify. That's a prestigious honor. Not every municipality and city tries to achieve that award, so that's a great testament to your finance people, and that they really want to present, again, the financial information in a form that's easily readable and contains a lot of information. Our responsibilities as the auditor is to conduct our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, as well as governmental auditing standards. We're also required to plan and perform our audit to obtain reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance, that the financial statements are free of material misstatement. What that means is that we take a risk-based approach in selecting transactions. We don't audit every transaction, but we audit enough where we believe that we can give you an opinion on the fair presentation of your financial statements. We're also responsible to report on internal controls over financial reporting, as well as compliance with laws and regulations. On page 5, the Auditing Standards Board of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the ASCPA, which govern how we conduct our audits, recommend that we communicate these matters to the governing board. Illegal acts. None came to our attention as a result of performing our audit procedures. There were no changes in significant accounting policies. We're pleased to report we had no difficulties or disagreements with management, and we had full cooperation and access to the books and records. We were given whatever we asked for as far as looking at documentation of receipts and disbursements. Item page 6, a little summary of what a financial and compliance audit does is we believe it answers 3 basic questions. The first question, are the financial statements free of material misstatement? Our response is, in our opinion, we've issued an unmodified opinion that the financial statements are indeed fairly presented in all material respects. Commonly, that was referred to a clean opinion. That's the highest level of opinion that we can give on the financial statements. The second question, are internal controls over financial reporting adequately designed and operating effectively? And our response is we did not identify any deficiencies in internal controls that we considered to be a material weakness. Again, had we done so, we are required by our profession to report those to the governing body. And lastly, did the city comply in all material respects with finance-related laws and regulations? Again, no non-compliance was noted with finance-related laws and regulations that govern the city's operations. On page 7, management letter comments, again, are included in our required communications. We did have a couple of comments, one on budgeting. The capital improvement fund ended up being over budget by a little over $56,000. And we recommend that the city review those policies and procedures for amending the budget. And management has provided their response to that recommendation. The second recommendation is a listing of future accounting pronouncements. Again, the Government Accounting Standards Board, who govern the financial reporting for governmental entities, seems like they're issuing new statements all the time that could impact the financial statements of the city. We list those that are coming up. Again, I don't see any of those that are going to directly have a significant impact on the city's financial statements. And we work with management on those that come up to say, are those going to apply? And then we work together all year long so that the city can implement those if they do have an impact. And finally, certainly Cochran Head Vic appreciates the opportunity to serve as the City of Osage Beach's auditor. Again, special thanks to Gina, she's not here this evening, and also to Carrie and the whole staff of the city. Great to work with, very professional and timely with the information that we requested. So very professional and great to work with. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions that I might be able to answer?
All right. Any questions from the board on the audit itself? Looks like it was pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, I will
I
offer.
have to commend the board to get through it without any questions on that.
Well, I'm sure they have all read this thing from front to back.
They've plowed through it many times,
But
probably.
there are, again, the management discussion analysis, the first few pages in there is really a good synopsis of what happened during the year. In the back, there's statistical data that gives 10 years' worth of information. So it really is a good document. And if you have questions later on, outside of this meeting, you're always able to email me or call me. You get my information from Carrie, and I'd be more than happy to respond to any questions you may have.
Well, thank you very much for your time this evening, Mr. Keenan. We appreciate it very much.
Thank
And
you
we
very
appreciate
much.
your kind words about our staff. They work very hard, and this audit is very important to us, not just for the fact that, we might get some kind of an award for it, but just the need to be sure that, we are taking care of our citizens' funds that they trust us to take care of. So thank you very much.
And that's good, and I think the tone starts at the top, and you folks are very involved in that financial reporting process, which again, is very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you again. All right, we'll move on. Our next item, request a first reading of Bill Number 2134, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending City Code, Chapter 135, Finance and Purchasing, Section 135010, Definitions, Chapter 135020, Budget and Financial Control, Chapter 135040, Purchasing and Procurement, Competitive Bidding, Chapter 135050, Purchasing and Procurement, Competitive Proposals, and Chapter 135070, Purchasing and Procurement, Cooperative Purchasing, Sole Source Procurement, Emergency Purchasing. Since the city administrator is not here this evening, the city attorney will turn to you for comments.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, members of the board. This is Gina's second draft after the considerable discussion 2 weeks ago where she took notes and you all had a very good policy discussion concerning what you wanted in a new draft. And the board agreed to simply set over the draft. And so it appears to you tonight with essentially a floor substitute. She emailed you all an excellent email on Wednesday, June 9th, explaining most of the changes. The changes that I simply want to reiterate for the record and draw your attention to appear on page 174 and 175 of your packet. What she did do, and I don't believe we talked about this in the session, this is an idea that came up in the staff conversations after the last meeting, was to separate out the idea of personnel, operations, and maintenance accounts and capital accounts. And so those are treated a little bit differently. The idea was to make sure that we drove every change of over $5,000 to the Board of Aldermen, okay? Other than that, I think her email was pretty explanatory. I frankly didn't hear from anybody, so I assume most of you all have had adequate time to read it, or if you do have questions, I'm under specific instructions to answer the questions, but not guess, and if it gets too deep, I'm going to ask you all to punt it back until next meeting where she can be here if there's additional stuff to do.
All right, thank you very much. Questions or comments from the board?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve, first reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Alderman Ross. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. We have a 4-1, so the motion moves forward, approved for first reading. All right. Our next item, request a first reading of Bill Number 2136, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, terminating the Marina View Tax Incremental Financing Project by repealing the following ordinances. Number 1, Ordinance 07-56, adopting the TIF plan. 2, Ordinance 07-76, authorizing the redevelopment agreement with John Q. Hammond's Lake of the Ozark Development, LLC. Number 3, Ordinance 07-69, creating the Marina View Community Improvement District. And 4, Ordinance 07-70, authorizing a cooperation and development agreement between the city and Marina View Community Improvement District and John Q. Hammond's Lake of the Ozarks Development, LLC. City Attorney.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Back in 2007, Mr. Hammond's noted hotel developer in Missouri history and practically the leading citizen in Springfield, our sister city, approached the city about a hotel here. The board at that time was very interested in pursuing it and adopted these ordinances to pursue what we called the Marina View Hotel, what we also called the Hammond's Hotel. Subsequent to the adoption of those ordinances in December of 2007, parties affiliated with the Lodge of the Four Seasons filed a taxpayer lawsuit in Camden County Circuit Court in an effort to stop the development of the Hammonds Hotel. They specifically contested whether the property was in fact blighted and whether the board's decision that granting tax increment financing met the but-for test set forth in the statute. That litigation dragged on for a couple of years. At the end of that litigation, the trial court found every point in favor of the city and the developer and rejected all of the plaintiff's claims. Unfortunately, during that trial and during that time, during the 2 years, Mr. Ham is in his 90s, just kept advancing in age. Eventually, the hotel was never built. Mr. Hammonds passed away shortly after the, I'm not sure whether it was before or after the verdict. But I think he lived long enough to see that they had done everything correctly, but the hotel still did not get built. Subsequent to that, the ordinances have remained in effect and the TIF plan has remained in effect. The Community Improvement District remained in effect. We are now at the point where the mayor asked me to research and take a look at what to do with this essentially legislative overhang on this property. The property has come into the possession of JDHQ Land Holdings, Inc., a Delaware corporation that is affiliated with Atrium Property Management and Jonathan Elian, an investor. I've spoken with Mr. Seth Ruiz, who is the general counsel for that company, and he and I worked out, with the mayor's approval, the termination release agreement. They have essentially requested that we terminate the TIF plan, roll up the Community Improvement District that never met and never actually organized, and I guess hold for naught or invalidate the cooperation agreement between the city, the Community Improvement District that never met, and the developer. What this ordinance is designed to do is to essentially repeal those 4 ordinances and return this valuable piece of property to its original pre-TIF state. In other words, it will be returned as if it were a new piece of property anywhere else in the city without this legislative overhang. And that means that any new purchaser may proceed without regard to these original plans. It does not bind the city at any point in the future, whether you wish to offer any kind of development incentives for that piece of property, whether a developer wishes to ask for any kind of development incentives for that piece of property. The Hammonds plan will be irrelevant as to that. It will be a clean slate. Basically, what this is, it's the grade school equivalent of I've been assigned to go into the classroom and wipe down the chalkboard and clean it off completely.
And you've done a good job at that. All right. Thank you very much. Any questions from the board? Yes.
We didn't do anything with that property, Carrie, from a P&Z standpoint, have we?
No, we didn't have to do, I mean, initially, we rezoned it from C1B to C1. So currently it's zoned C1. It was previously zoned C1B because there were plans for a condominium project there that never went. So then they up-zoned it to C1 so that they can do the hotel resort and convention center there. But that's all we did, and it stays C1 regardless. So if somebody comes in and wants to restart, a process in progress with us, then everything is good to go. And it has our best zone as it pertains to flexibility for the city.
That's all I have. I know it doesn't have a direct impact, but it just was on my brain while I was thinking about it.
Okay. Anything else? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve first reading?
So move.
Alderman Morose, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Becker. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? First reading passes. Our next item, request a first and second reading of Bill Number 2137, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, requesting approval to purchase a 1-year licensing subscription for Microsoft 365 in an amount not to exceed $30,000. IT Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of the board.
Excuse me, can we get a mic right in front of you so that our online listeners can hear? Thank you.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. We're coming up at the end of our 3-year enterprise agreement that we have through SHI. We went out to bid, speaking with SHI, who has won the state bid. While we were waiting for them to get back with the new numbers, we decided to go out and ask some questions from our partnership company, / and through a few other smaller companies to kind of get quotes and see where the dollar amount was there. We ended up finding out that / was a little bit cheaper than the state bid. This is also a benefit if we end up going, you guys approve us going through / because we will also be implementing some additional security measures through our Barracuda software that we use for our firewalls in Office 365. Wanted to make note that the quote that we received is significantly under budget. Again, as I stated above, we are moving away from a 3-year agreement to a 1-year agreement where licenses can be added and subtracted at any time. So I'm asking the board and mayor for approval.
All right, thank you very much. Questions or comments from the board? With none, is there a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Rucker, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? First reading passes. Second reading by title only of ordinance number 2137, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the purchase a 1-year licensing subscription for Microsoft 365 in an amount not to exceed $30,000. Are there any additional questions? With none, is there a motion to approve second reading? Alderman Osteen, do I have a second? Alderman Becker, roll call, please.
Alderman Becker,
Yes.
Alderman Osteen,
Yes.
Alderman Rucker,
Yes.
Alderman Morose,
Yes.
Alderman Ross,
Yes.
Alderman Walker.
All right. Second reading passes. Our next item, request a first reading of Bill Number 2138, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the expenditure of funds for the Best Damn Birthday Bash event support request. That's a mouthful. In an amount not to exceed $5,000. Since Gina's not here this evening, Assistant City Administrator, please.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board, this, this event request is for 2 things. I believe it is for, to celebrate the bicentennial, the Missouri bicentennial, and it is also to support the 90th anniversary of Bagnell Dam. There are events that Legina has listed in your packet that will be going on throughout the early part of August, I believe, and culminating with a very large fireworks show, I believe, that will happen in several different locations. They are asking for a $5,000 support from the city. They have included their budget, which is quite detailed. So they are asking for approval for $5,000. The board has already committed $2,000 to an event previously. The total budget for this line item is $13,000. So as it stands right now, the board has $11,000 to play with within that account. I do recommend approval. Legina is here in the crowd, and if the board or the mayor has any questions, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer them.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board? Yes.
If I understand this correctly, we have already pledged $2,000 for this.
Not for this.
Not for this.
But for an event
Correct.
that is
Oh,
going to
that's
take.
the Einplein Festival, the
Right.
Arts Festival?
Yes, yes.
Okay, because I saw it listed.
Well, that's correct, because it just happens to be one event that's going to be taking place during this
Okay,
period.
okay. That's all I have, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Legina is here. We appreciate you very much being here. Do you have anything you'd like to share with us?
No, I'm just here to answer any questions you guys might have, and we appreciate your support. And if it's appropriate, Mayor, afterwards, I have some boat parade flags, which kicked off the Best Damn Birthday Bash, if you guys are able to accept those.
Okay.
That has the logo on it.
Yeah, all right. All right, well, let us vote on it first.
Yeah, sure.
You may not want to hand out the flags, you
No,
never
well,
know.
it's either way. It wasn't a bribe.
We get it anyway, right?
Yes, sir. You do get it anyway. I do get it anyway.
All right. All right, well, there are no further questions, so is there a motion to approve first reading?
So move.
Yes, Alderman Morose and Alderman Osteen is the second. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the first reading does pass. And you can leave the flags probably with Carrie Patterson? Yeah, I know, it's kind of questionable. We could, well, leave it with the lieutenant, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Legina. We appreciate it very much. Yeah. All right, our next item requests both a first and second reading of Bill Number 2139, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending ordinance number 2083, adopting the 2021 annual budget, transfer of funds for necessary expenses for the purchase of a net clock time server in an amount not to exceed $7,500. Chief, are you going to handle this, or is Lieutenant?
I'll start.
Okay.
Mayor and members of the board, this is a request for a budget amendment, as the mayor said, to replace our net clock time server and dispatch. The server's been in service since approximately 2004, and it's currently failing, which is causing all of our timestamps and recordings to be inaccurate. The timestamp, or the server, controls basically the clock on all our computers and radio systems. And it's an essential piece of equipment. Police Department recommends approval. Lieutenant O'Day or myself can try to answer any questions that you guys may have.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board? Yes, Alderman Ross.
So I have a couple of questions and one comment. One is I don't think we have a choice not to replace this. But first of all, as I go through the asset planning, Mike or whoever's most on point for this, chief, I don't see this listed as an asset on our asset plan. And so it may be a miss. I get that. That's a plan that we start developing in 2018, but it probably needs to be listed, and needs to be considered as we consider capital reserve policies, because this is something that sounds like an asset that is fairly important that does wear out over time, and that cost of that needs to be incorporated in that plan. And Mike, I'm guessing I'm going to ask you, but there's a comment in here that says that this is coming out of the unrestricted general fund. Come from unrestricted general funds. And so as I look at the final draft of the budget, there's only $350 in the general fund unrestricted category. So I'm trying to understand, I don't know that we have a choice. We got to spend it somewhere, but I'm not certain that's accurate. And I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I mean, if it says unrestricted, I'm going to have to get some additional information from Gina, because you're right, there's only 350. I'm not sure if she's taking it out of what would be that next line down if you're looking at the budget, and which goes into the reserve, the self-restricted reserve that we have. So I'm at this time, sir, I'm not sure I can accurately answer that question.
Okay.
And I'm sure that was a comment that was probably put in, by her from a budgeting standpoint.
So I would hope, so are we doing first and second?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Well, we need to do it, so I guess we might as well, but I would like a follow-up from that to
Yes, sir.
understand what's going on with that.
We can get you an answer on that.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, any other questions? Oh, yes, Alderman Osteen.
Part of this is because I'm not quite adept at the budgeting side of it all, but wouldn't this fall under some type of emergency procurement where they would need board approval if it's something that is opening us to legalities? If time stamps or things are incorrect?
It's all within the procedure that we just took and passed first process tonight, and there is provisions for emergency purchasing, but my opinion and my understanding of the definition of that ordinance, this is not an emergency.
Okay.
I wouldn't guess that it would fall under that.
There is a provision where staff can, under emergency things, with the approval of the city administrator, spend up to $50,000. But this, I don't think is an emergency.
Right, and if I could just comment, the server is crashing, but it is still operating right now. It is in dire need of replacement, so it is not no? It is completely down?
I mean, there's parts of that open. or that works, but the receiver that connects to the GPS are not working.
Oh, that's right. So you basically shut the time off on it,
Because it was
which is
called
what is
double.
allowing us to keep going.
So we're not recording time accurately?
Correct.
No.
Correct.
Okay.
But that's also what we're asking. They're asking for a first and second reading tonight, so
Right.
tomorrow they can get it done.
Right, exactly. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve first reading?
So move.
Alderman Morose, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Second reading by title only of ordinance number 2139, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending ordinance number 20.83, adopting the 2021 annual budget, transfer funds for necessary expenses. Are there any additional questions? With none, is there a motion to approve second reading? Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Do I have a second? Alderman Becker. Roll call, please.
Alderman Rucker,
Yes.
Alderman Ross,
Yes.
Alderman Walker, Alderman Morose,
Yes.
Alderman Becker,
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Second reading passes. Thank you. And I know the police department appreciates that.
Yes, we do.
Our next item, request a motion to approve Board of Aldermen representatives to the various boards and commissions. Various Missouri state statutes and city codes require board representatives to the Planning Commission, Osage Beach, Lake Ozark Joint Sewer Board, the TIF Commission, and the Liquor Control Board. My recommendations for the 2021 alderman appointments to city commissions and boards are as follows. And I would like to make a modification to the board packet. It showed as the TIF Commission, Alderman Rucker, but actually that is Alderman Becker. So I will go through Planning Commission, Alderman Osteen. Lake Ozark, Osage Beach Joint Sewer Board, Alderman Rucker. Liquor Control Board, Alderman Morose. And the TIF Commission, Alderman Becker. Alderman Ross, as president of the board, will serve on both the Arrowhead Center and Osage Beach Commons Community Improvement District Board of Directors. And as a reminder, Brad Smith, our city collector, will chair the Liquor Control Board. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve these recommendations?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes, and I would thank the aldermen for volunteering and their willingness to accept these additional responsibilities. All right, our final item for this evening, request a motion to approve the citizen appointments to the Board of Adjustment, the Board of Appeal, and we've listed the TIF Commission, but there are really no appointments to the TIF Commission or reappointments this evening. And I will take this. It is the responsibility of the mayor to recommend citizen appointments to the various city boards and commissions to the Board of Aldermen and for their approval. It is my pleasure to make the following recommendations. The Planning Commission, there are no reappointments required. All of the existing commissioners fall within their terms. The Board of Zoning Adjustments, we have one reappointment that I'd like to recommend, Gloria O'Keefe, to serve an additional 5-year term. And the Board of Appeals, the reappointment of Kevin Carter for an additional 5-year term. There is a spot available on the TIF Commission for appointment or reappointment. It will be for a 4-year term, but at this point, and until the TIF Commission, or there appears to be a need for a TIF Commission, I'm going to hold on that recommendation. So this evening, I'm asking for a reappointment of Gloria O'Keefe to the Board of Zoning Adjustments and Kevin Carter to the Board of Appeals. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? Alderman Becker, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries, and I would like to thank the board for their approval of these reappointments. All right, now it's time for communications. We start with communications from the members of the Board of Aldermen. Alderman Ross.
I just want to, first of all, recognize Carrie for another year of great work. The standards that you set are great, and you always meet those. Also, had an opportunity to spend some time with Kevin. It was great. I recommend, if you haven't had a chance to do a meet and greet with Kevin, I think his experience, knowledge, and the way he's going about things will be a tremendous asset to Public Works. So it's a breath of fresh air, and I appreciate all you're doing so far, Kevin. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Alderman Morose.
I too echo Alderman Ross's comments on Carrie. Congratulations. We're very blessed to have you. And I also want to just say kudos. I just thought it was awesome, even though we didn't do the world record of the parade, boat parade, but I thought it was a tremendous success as far as people that participated. It was well organized, and I thought the committee did a superb job, and they said, well, we're not done yet. We're going to do it again, and we know there's some things, that we need to improve, but safety-wise and all the way up the channel, it was just awesome to see, and I think our area should be very proud of the first time. Yeah, and that's it.
All right, thank you. Alderman Osteen.
I have nothing this evening other than to stay cool and hydrate.
Yeah, both things that we need to be looking towards. Alderman Becker.
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes, I have a couple items. I'd just like to thank a number of members of the staff, Ron White, Kerry Patterson, Chief Davis, Gina, Ed Rucker, Todd the second time, and Ron White the second time. For whatever reason, the moon was right or wrong, but over the last 3.5 weeks, I have had more citizen interaction than I've had over the last 2 or 3 years. Each one of them has been different, except for 2 of them were the same, but most of the other ones were different. I still have a couple of them that I've got to deal with Ron actually after the meeting tonight on, but I've had citizens that have had issues, concerns, and et cetera. Staff has been very helpful. I obviously hit them with, I want to know this, so that I have my backup and my support. Then I go back to the citizen, and so far as I've been able to interact back and forth, I still have the citizens that are still talking to me after I've called them the second time. But I still have a couple that I'm still working through, but I just want to thank the staff. Maybe they're coming after it. But I want to thank the staff for their help and their support in researching and digging up the information and giving me the information so that I can get back to our citizens. So good staff to work with. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Since the city administrator's not here, we turn immediately to the assistant city administrator.
Thank you, sir. The only thing I'll say is as we wind down our Little League season, we are finally filling the vacant positions in the park. It's been nice to have filled them about 2.5 months ago, but things are settling into a little bit more of a consistent place with the Parks Department, and hopefully that continues and grows with the new management we have there. So that's all I have.
Well, and while Little League may be winding down, we still have several tournaments.
Yes,
Pretty
sir.
good-sized tournaments still coming in, so it's not like those folks aren't going to have anything to do.
No.
So, yeah, we appreciate all the hard work that's gone on out there.
On the tournaments, can I get a little
Yes.
story? The tournaments, I knew there was an impact, but I didn't really realize the impact. I was sitting at Era's Pizza the other night, and the bartender was talking about Saturday that they had a group call. They wanted 35 people to come in. And she's like, well, you're going to take a while because we're not set up for a group of 35. And it's like, who is a group of 35 people coming in? And she said it was a baseball team. So before it was all done, there was 42 people came in for that one team. And I think, didn't you tell us we had 59 teams or something?
58.
Right.
We actually, what I said was 56, and then they added 2 more after I told you that. But we did have 58 teams at the ballpark for games all day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was a tremendously successful weekend, even though maybe our staff may not have agreed with that because they worked all weekend. But it was, and there was a lot of parents, a lot of brothers and sisters, a lot of team members in the area. You can imagine how many people that generated.
Looks like it generated about 1,800 people on a weekend here, and that's quite an accomplishment on what few fields we have down there. So great job, and the impact was kind of mind-boggling when I sat and thought about it, to tell you the truth.
We have 2 more tournaments that will equal that size. One of them is the final weekend in June, and then we have another one the second weekend in July.
These teams add a lot to economic development, you know, in the area. I mean, you're talking, they have to have places to stay. They have to have places to, you know, eat. And while, you know, they're shopping in the grocery stores, so they're spending money while they're here. Plus, it's also giving them an opportunity to see our community in our lake area. And we all know that starts the progression of visitor, second homeowner, and then, you know, full-time resident down here. So it's a good job, Mike. We really appreciate the effort, you know, of your team over there. City Attorney.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I had a good conversation with Dave Cochran today. And before I make an idiot of myself, I'll just ask my planner.
Dave with Cochran.
Dave with Cochran,
Yeah.
right. Dave Van Leer with Cochran. I'll ask my city planner. I'm having an old guy moment. What's the name of the road down by Shorty Pants that they're looking at?
Autumn Lane.
Autumn Lane, okay. We know there is going to be a difficult, that is legally a difficult project. Dave and I have discussed some approaches, and we'll bring back to you an idea of how we can get this done. The only caution to you is, you know, our job as professionals is to get done what you want to get done, not tell you you can't do it. So we're going to give you an idea of how to get it done. It's going to contain a little bit more legal risk than you're used to, okay? Simply because of the way that plat works out. But we both agreed as we discussed this, and he had some creative ideas, that our job is to present you a plan. This is how you can do this, okay? This is the safest way we can get it done. We're not going to just come back and say, no, it can't happen. It can happen. And then I will be happy to discuss with you what those legal risks are, okay? They're basically impossible to quantify at this point. There may be some more information Dave gets us that gets us something, but he is working on it, and I was just delighted to have the conversation with him today, and he's got some good ideas, and I think we'll be able to at least present you something.
Give you some options anyway.
Right.
And then leave it up to the board to make the decision on that. Anything else, Ed?
No, sir.
All right, City Clerk.
No, I have nothing to report. Thank you.
All right, Chief.
I'd just like to take a minute and recognize 2 of our dispatchers and one of our ambulance members. A few weeks ago, most of you may remember the 8-year-old boy that lost his life out on the lake. That call came through our dispatch center. It was quite crazy. Mike can probably elaborate a little more on it. But they kept their heads together. They were able to get emergency services out to that location. The people weren't from the area. They didn't know where they were at. Took a lot of digging to get the right information to get the crews out there. Even though it ended up a tragic event, they did a great job doing what they were supposed to do, and got the resources out there that they needed. And Laura McDonald, one of our leads, Lisa Logan, and then Floyd Handy on the ambulance. He went out on the fireboat with the fire crews that responded out to it. So but they did an excellent job. And it was, it hit them all pretty hard, so we did the debrief and everything afterwards. They were able to partake in some of that. So they're doing good now, but, I mean, it's something that's always going to be there with them, so.
Sometimes I don't think we really take into consideration the impact that it has, even on the folks that are on the phones.
Right.
Managing those situations. So you're absolutely right. Thanks, Chief, for recognizing them.
To touch on that a little bit, to give you an idea, it's technology. When stuff hits the fan like that, the technology goes out the window, and we better be able to revert to what we used to do. So when those calls come in, the GPS coordinates didn't come through on their screens, so they had to revert to the old school. What do you see around you? They just talk to the people. There's about an hour of recording on that call, and I've listened to all of it. They did what they needed to do to get the resources there, doing it what I call old school. Do you see a store? I mean, it was like it was natural to them. So,
Landmarks, basically.
They worked through it, got the resources there. The outcome is, we all know what it was, but then they held their composure while doing it. So it was kudos to them.
Can I ask why the GPS didn't work?
One of the Entrado system that we're getting ready to upgrade, one of the stations, one of the hard drives is messing up. And it's getting replaced for free. It's just a matter of, it happened at that moment.
Figures.
Murphy's Law.
Yeah. Anything else, Chief?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. City planner.
Yeah, hard to follow something like that, honestly. Couple things, just to expand on the amount of ball economic impact that we're getting. I was fortunate enough to be able to take off last Friday, go out to the Oaks to play golf with a buddy of mine, and it was just the two of us, and they ended up pairing Corey and I with a dad and his 12-year-old son who were down here to play in a tournament out at the ballparks of America. And he told me that they had 4 teams from their community that were here staying in our community, had reservations at restaurants and everything in our community. But I think along the way of that 9 holes, I was able to get some more business for some of our other restaurants. Because that's typically one of the things. But being someone who spends a lot of time out at that particular location, it is amazing how many people that they're bringing in, and even more amazing how many of those people are coming back to our community to stay and eat and shop and do whatever. So we are benefiting excessively from both the efforts of our people and what's going on out at Ballparks National. So that's one thing. The second thing I have is trends and things are showing the costs of lumber and construction capital coming down. Good. Actually heading in the right direction. That was a major bulletin that I got actually yesterday morning. So that will be super beneficial to not only us, but anybody else. But from the perspective of a community that in times like these is developing very, very well, like we are, it's great news. And then the last thing I have is I've got some purple flags down here. Y'all can grab one on your way out. So that's what I have.
That's very generous of you, Kerry. We appreciate the flags. Yeah, we can always depend on you. City Treasurer.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick, thank you, Mayor and Board of Aldermen, because this isn't possible without financial support, a qualified staff, which you all support, the training it takes to keep people up on everything. On numeral, if you get a chance, Roman numeral 5 is my co-author, April White, the staff accountant, has signed off on this as well. It's a group effort. Every single department we are work with and have input. So this is a joint effort of everybody, and thank you for helping make that possible.
Can't be done without the team, can it?
No.
Yes. All right. Public Works Operations Manager.
Nothing for the board today, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thanks. Lieutenant? Nothing. All right. IT?
Nothing else for me. Thank you.
Building?
I've run exactly what they run. Nothing.
Nothing? All right. You did bring a lot of really neat stuff with you, before the meeting, because you, again, did a great job in making the selections that you did, and it really, really looks nice. It really makes our boardroom
So I
pop.
guess I do have something then.
Yeah.
All of this work was done by Doug Danron and Josh Jones. They're to be commended for.
Yeah.
They both wanted to stay late to make sure that it was done for this meeting.
Great.
Kudos to them.
Yeah.
Power tools, they were doing it with muscle.
For the building department.
Airport? Nothing, sir. All right. Our business for this evening is complete, and we are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Have a great evening. And I echo Alderman Osteen, stay cool and hydrate.
I understand what this looks like, another deck fire and mock oaks, or whatever it is.